I look fuzzy. I feel a little fuzzy. I had all kinds of success today happen, and that success became a problem in that I wasn't able to do the video that I was planning to do today. But in every problem comes an opportunity, and that opportunity is a video on the different names of tools. So I hope you enjoy it. If you already know the names of everything, you can share it with somebody else, and then when you work with them, not only will they like you for having shared that and made them a little bit smarter, but they'll also be able to hand you a 3/8 drive 14mm deep socket, 12 point or 6 point, and get it right. So this is going to be good. This is an open-end wrench or a spanner, and then there's all kinds of variations on that same thing. One of the common ones is a combination wrench. A combination wrench has a spanner on one end and it has a box wrench on the other. You can see it's enclosed like a box. This one's a 12 point. They also come in 6 point. We'll go into that a little bit more on sockets. Got crescent wrenches that are adjustable, and they come in all kinds of different sizes. Like for example, this one is a 6-inch. It's marked 6 inches. I've got 10-inch ones, 12-inch, 15, 18, 24-inch. Sky's the limit. And these are basically just adjustable spanners that you can use a screw to get the size what you want. They work for standard and metric fasteners. You can't go wrong with one of these. You just got to make sure it's snugged up on the nut when you go to tighten it, or it'll round it off. For example, when you put it on here, if it's nice and tight in there and your screw is tight, then you'll be fine. If they're a little bit loose, then you can cause damage and rounding. So going down the wrenches from there, we have this is also a combination wrench, but it's a special wrench. It's got a little line around the outside of it. It's actually a ratcheting box wrench. You can see that box stays still, and that way you don't have to take it off for each time you turn the nut. And then from there we've got stubby wrenches and stubby combination gear wrenches. That's what this is. And of course there's metric and standard, and you can tell if it's a standard because there'll be a fraction, and there'll be just a normal number if it's metric. So let's talk about the sockets. So here's a few different sockets, and the reason why I picked these is they have different drive sizes. The three main ones are these. They're 1/2-inch drive, and that's 1/2-inch by 1/2-inch, 3/8 drive, and 1/4-inch drive. And they're called drive because of the device that you drive them with. For example, here's a socket driver, and it is a 1/4-inch, so it fits with the 1/4-inch drive sockets. When you look at a socket's face, you can see that there's 12-point sockets and 6-point sockets. And you'll find that there's shallow sockets or deep sockets. These are both the same. They're 3/8 drive. The way you refer to a socket is by the drive, size, and depth. For example, this one is a 3/8 14mm deep socket. So let's talk about ratchets. This is a ratchet, and a ratchet drives a socket. So here's a shallow 1/4-inch drive 7mm socket, and it's being driven by a ratchet. So you call this a 1/4-inch drive ratchet. Here's a 3/8-inch drive ratchet. Here's a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. And the only difference you see is just the size, 1/4-inch, 3/8, and 1/2-inch respectively. There's different kinds of ratchets too. For example, here's a flex head where it can flex to get into different areas. And here's a stubby flex head. So it's got the flex head and it's just real short for tight areas. This is a 3/8-inch drive ratchet. So let's talk screwdrivers. Here's your conventional screwdriver. We call this a flathead driver. This one's pretty regular. This would be a long one. And here's a large. Here's a small. And here is a jeweler's. If you look really close, you can see it's a flathead screwdriver, but it's just really small. In contrast to that, you have the plus sign, or the Phillips screwdriver. This is a number 2 in size. This is a number 3. They go down in size to small and jewelers, etc. There's just not room on the workbench. This is an impact screwdriver. So this would be a number 3 bit that's in it. And what these do is when you hit it, it makes it twist. So you hit the backside with a hammer while applying pressure, and it works to remove stubborn screws and things like that, like on brake rotors. I use it a lot for that. This is a brake spoon. This is used for adjusting drum brakes. You don't see a whole lot of these around anymore, but thought I'd throw that in. This is a utility knife. This is a body panel knife. This is used on soft plastic body panel pieces so that it doesn't scratch or mar them. I should have covered this when I covered sockets, but there's extensions for sockets. They have the same interface that the socket does, but they give you access so you can reach further with it. And they come in all different lengths, and the sizes, again, you have ones that are 3/4 inch drive, 1/2 inch drive, 3/8 drive, and 1/4 inch drive. You'll notice that these have kind of a ball shape as opposed to a square one. These are the same. These are a 3-inch 3/8 drive extension or socket extension, but this one has a unique advantage because you can put it in like this and have it be straight or disengage it slightly and get a little bit of flexibility with it. Works kind of like a CV axle. This is a flex one. So you've got flex, wobble, and standard. This is a chisel. You use this on rivets. You can use it to get nuts to move that are stuck. You know, you can hit the nut or bolt on the head if you've only got small access or something's causing it to where it won't come loose. You can hit it with a chisel, knock it loose sometimes. And then you have the pneumatic. This is an air chisel. And just like we had the ratchets that I showed you a second ago, we also have air ratchets. Here's a 3/8 drive air ratchet, and here's a 1/4 inch drive air ratchet. And instead of having, some of them will have a little thing on the back of them, and other ones just have a switch. I like the switch because on an air ratchet, if it's rotating, when you get into a tight spot, which these are designed to do, it'll cause it to engage the other way. So you're loosening and all of a sudden you're tightening, and so I like these switches. These are the ones to get. On the same line of the pneumatic stuff, here's a 3/8 drive butterfly gun. These just work at really high speed. This one has a hose clamp holding it together, but I didn't want to say goodbye to it. And you can adjust the speed or the air pressure that's coming from your air hose to the tool. And when you hit this, it goes this way, and you hit it this way, it goes this way, forward, reverse. This is an impact gun in 1/2 inch drive. You can also get them in 3/8 drive. Don't see too many in 1/4 inch drive, but again, you just hook it up to your air hose. You can, on this one, particular one, you can adjust the pressure by turning a little knob behind here, and then the forward and the reverse is right here, which I really like because it's got the arrow. You can see which way. I've used so many impact guns over the years that I like this one because it's idiot proof. So let's talk about pliers. There's all kinds of pliers. So here's some pliers that you're used to seeing. These are needle nose pliers, and these have a wire cutter on them. I tried to find some lineman pliers that are kind of like this with the opening, flat on the front. You know, these have a wire cutter too, but it's not quite the same or as sharp as this one. But I couldn't find where I put them. They're in one of my kits. So these are slip joint pliers, and these are channel lock pliers. You can see that there's a channel that you can slide it up and down, and then it engages. So it's like having pliers of very different sizes that you can adjust how you want. And speaking of sizes, they come in smaller sizes. You can get them just itty bitty teeny tiny, or you can get them great big for bigger projects or bigger things you need to grab a hold of. In that same family, you've got side cuts. These cut on the side of them. Another name for them is dike. That's becoming less appropriate. Is just like gay used to mean happy. You know, deal with it. So, and here's another kind, and these are just bent at an angle. The nice thing about the ones that are bent at an angle is you can grab onto something and then pry and really pull with it. So there's those. Let's talk about taps and dies. So a tap is used to tap threads in a nut. So it's basically the male thread fixer or thread maker. See, it goes in like that. And then the die is what cuts the thread on the bolt, as you can see here. So these are all needle nose pliers. These are really small, fine needle nose pliers, kind of jeweler scale. These are long needle nose pliers. There's regular needle nose, and then these are long 90-degree needle nose pliers, and these are one of my favorite tools. And one of the reasons that I like them so much is if you use a grinder and cut a slot in them like that, or just even cut a slot that's a little deeper this way, you can grab onto hose clamps. They maintain parallel, which is a unique feature, so you can do hose clamps and stuff with them. I found, like I say, if I cut a little line in them, it makes it work a lot better. This poor thing's a survivor. Never die, never say surrender. Man, I get a lot out of my tools. Lifetime contract for me. So did I talk about 12-point and 6-point sockets? I'm sure I did. This has 12 points and this has 6 points. And on that, we're going to talk about some other kinds of drivers. For example, this is a triple square. Triple square, if you think of it, a square's got 4 points and triple's 3. 3 times 4 is 12. So if you take a 12-point socket and then you put them together, you can see it fits. And this is used for like the pins on the side of an out drive where the pivot is. So triple square. Another one kind of like that is a Torx. These are all Torx bits, and they're basically 6-point. And you can actually use a Torx bit in place of an Allen in some cases, but not vice versa. And then there's a female version of the Torx bit, and Torx is spelled T-O-R-X. And the female version of a Torx bit is a reverse Torx or an E socket. See, they fit together just like a triple square and a 12-point. You can see that they've got the same kind of an interface. And when you look on the side, like for example, this one's an E16, and the Torx ones are labeled as a T, like a T40 or a T15 or T20. And then you have Torx bits that have holes in the middle, and these are tamper-proof or tamper-resistant Torx. There's Allen wrenches, and they're shaped like an L, so just imagine A-L-L-E-N. You remember Allen wrench. And then there's Allen bits, and this happens to be a tamper-resistant or tamper-proof Allen bit. So you've got your Allen wrench, and then you've got your Allen socket. And they're basically a hex, like the equivalent of what we had here in a 6-point socket, but the male version of it. So here is a 6mm socket, nope, 7mm, and then this is a 7mm Allen. And so they kind of can interface. There's just like male and female of just about everything, it seems. So these are wire strippers. You can use them. You see they don't close all the way, so they don't cut the wire. Whatever size the copper is, you just find the matching size and you just strip the jacket off of the copper. These are wire strippers, but these have solderless connector crimpers. But you see it's the same principle, just a little bit different design. You see how it's the same tool, and then this one takes it further. Sometimes these are quicker and easier to use, and you can see it's got little pliers on the end of it, so that's the advantage of that. These have cutters on the end of it, and then they also have a way that you can gauge a wire or bend it or set it at 90 degrees if you're doing electrical work. And then these are wire strippers. These grab a hold of the wire, both sides, and then strip it. And they just pull it apart like that. So these are kind of automatic. And then they've got the crimper down here. So all kinds of different tools for the same thing. Vice grips. These are needle nose vice grips. There's a couple of different sizes. But you can adjust these, like we'll grab these ones with this one. So you can adjust these, and they've got a cam locking device to where they just lock on. When you lock on to something like that, I mean, it just won't go anywhere, and you don't have to squeeze the handle, it just really holds on there. So these are the needle nose versions, but there's ones that are more like pliers that lock on like that as well. So this is a plastic rivet gun. It rivets plastic rivets naturally. This is a swivel head rivet gun, and it does metal rivets, and it's got different bits for different size rivets that you can put in here. It's got a little stowable wrench. So when you pull on this, it pulls the rod out of the rivet and pulls the back end into it. And you can get access this way or this way. And here's a big rivet gun for doing just real large rivets. If you're doing coupe, like a GM coupe, like a Firebird or something, they've got rivets that you have to do in the door handle or the window regulator. And so that's why you got to use a great big one like this. And again, it's got different size tips for it. So we have a pickle fork or a tie rod separator. You can see it's like a wedge, like a splitting wedge, but it's also split down the middle. And so if you have suspension components that are stuck together, you just put this between the two of them and it just drives them apart. You just hit the back end of it with a hammer and you just wedge them apart. Speaking of hammers, this is a sledgehammer. This is just a full-on big heavy sledgehammer. You can see it's got a really long handle. This is a hand sledge. It's got a wedge on one side and it's just got a blunt face on the other. This is one of my favorite tools. If something's being stubborn, or if you want to hit a chisel with a lot of force, or a tie rod or whatever, you can really get behind it with a hand sledge. They're just really fun to work with. This is a claw hammer. It's used for, it's a waffle face. The other hammers you may have noticed were smooth face. This is a waffle face. This is made for doing nails. You've got that same wedge that's split kind of thing, so that you can get behind a nail head and just pry it up. You see a lot of tools, they have similar properties. You see how this one's got that same angle for pulling things like the hammer does. So this would be like a framing hammer. It's a little bit bigger. These are kind of interesting because if you hit your finger, if you're holding something, you hit your finger with it, they're bad. But otherwise they're just really slick. So here's a few different hammers. This is a soft face hammer. You got rubber on one side with a replaceable end, and then you've got plastic on the other so it doesn't mar or damage something. This is a teardrop mallet, and it's made out of soft, lightweight plastic. And it's for doing body work where you don't want to damage the paint, but you want to manipulate thin body panels. Speaking of body work, it's a body hammer. Usually use these with a dolly for doing fender work. This is a dead blow hammer with a brass face. And the nice thing about the brass face is you can use it in welding. If you put it behind a hole in something steel and use your welding tip, you can go against it. It won't stick to this, but it'll fill in the hole. And then this one is also a body hammer. This one they call a donkey dick. You have no idea why some poor donkey named Richard got named after a hammer, but that's the way that one goes. Yes, I'm being sarcastic. Well, I hope you found this video useful. This is the kind of thing I would have liked to have when I was starting out or when I was really young. You know, rather than have somebody yell at you in the time of need and stress, give me those needle nose 90 pliers, or give me that 1/4 inch drive 13mm socket. What? But if you get an introduction like this, you may have to watch it 2 or 3 times. So I hope you enjoy this video. This video is meant to be shared with people. If you got somebody that's new and you're thinking, oh, I bet they could use this, this would really be handy, just share it with them. If you like the video, be sure to click like, you can subscribe, and it'll notify you of new videos I put up all the time. And I just really appreciate the support of everybody. I love bonus footage at the end. So I moved a year ago, and as part of that, I missed getting my plaque from YouTube. So this showed up about the same time that I'm doing taxes, and I'm doing taxes so late because I moved. I have to wait for the documents. But anyway, I was going to do a little unveiling of my YouTube plaque, because it's one of those things that just kind of cheers you up, a pat on the back kind of thing. I've worked really hard on my channel, and it's kind of fun to get something like that you can stick on the wall. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for your support of the channel. I say I've worked really hard, but if I worked really hard and nobody watches it, then what good is that? That'd be sad. So thanks for watching it and making it a good thing. Isn't that pretty? Brian's Mobile One, congratulations for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. I think I'm at 150 now. So, and that's just fantastic. You see the little play button is just kind of floating in there. It's a little rattly, but it looks great. Looks like it's got a little hole in the back and it's felt. Probably shouldn't be handling this with my dirty hands, but that's how we do. So anyway, thank you.
Once upon a time in the wild, wild west.